Shalom, Squadron. Of course, we're going to start out checking for audio, you know. Jesus fucking Christ. Why am I so loud? Is my phone volume all the way up? Mostly. Most of the way up. That's mostly up. We're going to turn music down just a tish bit. We want it to be vibey. We don't want it to steal the show. I'm the most important part here. Okay, it's my show, not the music show. I might want to see if I can see if I can make the lighting a little bit better. Chroma key up. Oh god, oh god. Return to the defaults. Oh god, I broke it. And then add a little contrast on that, and doesn't look great. That does not look good. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm fucking around with this, man. That's not what I want. Smoothness, that's also not what I want. I think this is fine. Oh, wait, I usually do have a light on in the room. That's the problem. That's the problem. It's not usually like a light that'll help you see me. There we go. We got the vibes going. We got the vibes going in here. Nice little purple shenanigans. Can you even, it doesn't even look purple on screen. It looks just white. It looks just white. But that's enough to like make it look like I have lights in this room. I don't know if you know. We're not this far ahead in the vlogs, but we just moved. I do not currently have a desk, so I have nowhere to put a ring light if I had one. This book, Dance of the Burning Sea. I was super excited for this book when it originally came out. Not even when it originally came out. I read the first book and I was like, oh, this was pretty good. And so I pre-ordered the second one. And frankly, I had so much issue actually purchasing the second one, and that should have been my sign not to get it. I'm actually quite upset that I wasted my money on this book. But we're going to chat, and we're going to do something differently, okay? I'm going to tell you, starting at, like, front, it's on the thing. It's on the thing right here. It's on the box. Like, you know why I don't like this book. And we're going to start out by making it very clear why I don't like this book. Because as I summarize this book, I am going to constantly be interacting, like every ounce of the summary of this book is just going to reiterate the things I don't like about this book. So I want to do something. I just want to start out with like, God, my radiator's being loud. My radiator's acting, like, screaming like it's actually warming up a damn thing, but it's not. But what I want to do is I want to just be like, hey, this is, like, the major reason why I don't like this book, and explain to you why that exact issue is reiterated throughout the entire fucking book. So, as you can tell, this book focuses on an extremely abusive relationship. And the ways that they go about trying to excuse him and his behavior and make it seem like he should be forgiven, and like make it seem like she's a bad person if she doesn't forgive him, are so abusive and so unhealthy. Like, these are legitimately like abuse tactics. This is psychologically abuse tactics that are being held. Like, literally he literally victim blames to the like most aggressive and egregious extent, and I fucking hate it. We're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna like discuss exactly why. So, what happens in this book is you start the book off where homeboy, his name's Alos, he has kidnapped our main character of this book. Her name is Naya. He kidnapped her and is holding her captive so that way she can help him accomplish some goals he needs. And that's kind of the main thing. So what are the goals? What is he trying to accomplish? Well, Alos, when he was younger, he has like a little brother. Let's start with talking about what he did, like how he got to the position where, whether she's kidnapped or not, why that actually is going to encourage her to help him. Because, in theory, did I not do these notes? I could have sworn I did. Oh, that's why. Got it. Never mind. Figured it out. We figured it out. Maybe. Okay. The reason is, homie, the reason why, because in theory, Naya is part of the Mousai. They are, like, some of the most powerful, like, magical beings in this world, right? So why is just getting kidnapped going to be enough to actually get her to actively help this dude? Well, like, 4 years prior to the events of this book, he seduced her, and they slept together, and in doing that, like, there's, like, the Mousai are beings of the Thief Kingdom, where people usually wear masks to protect their identities and protect themselves, and stuff like that, and they do, like, more criminal things there. Well, and the Mousai are the, like, main crew of the Thief King, who is obviously in charge. In seducing her and sleeping with her, he finds out her identity, and then, though he did not, like, he uses this information and the information about herself and her family to then be able to hold over her and say, if you don't do what I say whenever I deem like I want to turn cash in my favor, I will release your identities and your family's identities and get you all killed. Which is abusive. Like, that's abusive ass shit right there. That is, like, the fact that they keep trying to push that should at all be forgivable pisses me off. But there's also, like, a specific thing that we get to in the book that also upsets me and makes me uncomfortable. And, like, it's phrased as, like, he was starting to fall in love with her, but it's like he just needed her identity. Why did he actually sleep with her? And he says himself, he didn't want, at that point in time, he didn't want just her identity. He wanted all of her. And the fact that he, like, went through, like, he wanted all of her, and now is going to use that and continue to threaten her life and her family's life, that makes me super uncomfortable. So they're doing that. She makes a bet in which she, for some reason, like, I guess she's, like, reckless. She makes a bet that, where she's like, I bet you my sisters will show up in 3 days to save me, and if they don't, I will become a member of your ship for a year. And she makes the bet. He finds, like, some super mystical place that no one could find or like be able to sense her magic on, and the Mousai don't even think to check there. And like plot convenience, they don't do that. They don't find her in the 3 days. So when they do come, they're able to like at least know where Sister's at, and the magical beings have like done something. But she still has to be on the ship for the duration of her like year, because they made like this binding bet, which if you do not abide by the bet, then the person who you made the bet with can always find you. Which that isn't like explained thoroughly enough to me, but whatever. I feel like it's not like it gives you a map of where exactly that person is. It feels like it's a like hot or colder kind of game. So unless he's like in the legit vicinity, it doesn't seem like it's that bad. But whatever. Two, a theme that happens throughout this book is they make these girls who are supposed to be like super trained in martial arts and super like skillful and whatever. They really seem to like reduce their skills a lot to make the plot work in this book, and it's quite annoying. So she's on the boat and he keeps harassing her. He's just harassing and sexually harassing her the entire time on the boat. He's harassing her, sexually harassing her on the boat. And they get to a point where he goes to his homeland, which is this kingdom that is under the ocean. And she sneaks off after him. No one's supposed to leave the boat when they're in that land, partially because he's an outlaw, partially because he doesn't want them to know about his past and stuff. She sneaks off to try and find leverage to help with her bet. And she finds out that the reason Alos ended up getting outlawed in this land is because he stole this orb that was like the key to their magic that was keeping them under the ocean. And it was like this whole thing of he wanted to do something so heinous. He has like a brother who's sickly and was going to die, and the magical clerics of that area of their land were refusing to do anything to help him. And Alice and one of the like few clerics that actually did want to help the brother was like, okay, they're not going to do anything as long as they have a strong heir that could take over. You have to do something so heinous that you will be erased from like the history, erased from the bloodline, and then to preserve the heir, because like they're like the one family that seems to have blood directly from the god that put them under the ocean. In order to preserve the heir, they'll do whatever magic it takes. So he steals this orb that has the magic that was keeping them under the water, and runs away with it, and he ends up selling it. He ends up selling the pieces off. And she finds this out, and like makes a bet that she will use all of her like available resources to help him find these things before the land rises to the surface and is pillaged, in exchange for her freedom once they like recollect everything. And so they make that deal, but because she snuck off the boat and cast a spell on the rest of the team, he whips her several times. I think 8 times. He whips her 8 times. But now she's like a part of the team. She's a part of the team. They're hanging out. They're talking. I may not have actually finished taking the notes of this book, but that's fine. It doesn't really matter. He whips her, and forces her to do extra chores, which also not like a great making for a relationship. Yes, there's like fairness and punishment and whatever, but like the whipping and actually like physically causing her intense amounts of damage. Don't like that. Then another part is like now she's a part of like the groups of like him, his like right hand, and her. They're like the main three who know about the whole story and are playing together. And you have the specific line in that moment that really makes me uncomfortable where she like she's just like says, "Okay, Captain, is that all you need from me?" And the line is like, "Oh, there was like a slight flicker in his eye, like a slight hint of satisfaction at hearing her use his mastering title with no contempt, no sarcasm." And that's disgusting. Next we get to a point where they're like, the next part of the gem is in this land that's like across like several oceans, whatever. And this is where the part where the book starts to get a little Wattpad-y for me. Not saying there's something wrong with Wattpad books, but it's like, for me personally, I can vehemently tell when an author is kind of pantsing, and this is like them pantsing the first draft. And it's like, and especially if it's like a thing they put down for a little bit and then they pick back up, where you can tell like they suddenly thought of a new plot line, and so they just throw it onto the end, and then they suddenly thought of a new plot line and they just throw it onto the end. And so like the new plot line is they have to go to this other land where they know of the piece to be, but it's in the crown of this princess, and they're able to get it from the princess, but oh no, the princess, it like the piece that was in the princess's crown is not all of it. So now they have to figure out how, like, where the rest of it went, and they find out, but oh no, it was cut into a necklace for grandmama, but she lost it, and she doesn't remember where she left it at. And so they like make up this wishing well that lets you go and see old memories, because like probably there was no other way to write themselves out of this corner. So they made up this wishing well, and they go to the wishing well, and they find out where it is, but oh no, it's in this place, this like island of giants that eat humans. And they go to the island and they find the thing, but oh no, they get caught, and now the giants want them to fight each other, and whoever falls first is going to be eaten. The other person gets to leave. And another thing that made me really uncomfortable with this book is you have Alice do that, "Oh, I really love you, so I'm just going to say things to upset you and to make you angry and to make you embarrassed, so that way you'll hit me and I can fall, and they won't really read it as me having thrown the fight, so that way you can escape." Except my problem with it is everything that he's saying to her in this moment is so uncomfortably similar to the things he says when he's actually flirting with her, and to the things he said this entire time while they're on the boat. So why the fuck am I supposed to like find this cute again? And also, of course, naturally, like, Naya, now she's in love, she goes, finds a way to bring the Mousai to the island so that way they can go and rescue Alice, but he's free, he walked free, as if that was not a scene that I would have fucking liked to see. Whatever. And, like, if you're here with me on the, like, the whole, like, everything this dude does is absolutely disgusting thing, I can see you being like, oh, well, like, why was he, like, how is it that they actually end up falling in love? Why, like, you've discussed zero things that make him redeemable and that make his abuse towards her, like, something to be forgived. I told you the thing that the book uses. It's that, like, they essentially say, because he, like, abused her for the sake of, like, what he's doing to try and save his kingdom, that means that, since he, like, essentially saying, like, he did it for a reason that was good for him. He isn't abusive towards everyone. He would never treat his brother this way. So that means he can't be a bad guy. And that means that can't be a problem with what he did to her. And that is, like, one of the most frustrating things I have. Like, that's one of the most frustrating things with society for me, is this idea that someone has to be 100% evil in order to do bad things. It is the idea that, like, because he may have, like, abused her and murdered, like, 1,000 other people, those people and the people that he, and, like, the loved ones he widowed and widowed, stuff like that, they shouldn't be upset with him. They have no reason to be, they have no right to be upset with him, because he was doing it for his brother's sake. And fuck you. That is some real, like, you think you're the main character of everyone else's life shit right there. Like, just because someone would not abuse other people, or even in this situation, he wouldn't abuse specifically his brother like he has treated her. That is not an excuse, and that is not a get out of jail free card. Like, that does not excuse, that's not a pass for what he has done. But the book is literally constantly shoving it down your throat that, can't you see that I've only, like, done the things I did to you because I want to do it because I'm trying to protect my brother. I don't care. You still did those things to her. She has every right to be, like, that. You've still abused her. Your reasons, which are still selfish reasons, because you deciding you want to abuse other people and hurt other people for the story, for your own, like, side plot, is still very selfish. Like, you don't have a right to demand just because it makes sense in your life, I, like, have to tolerate it, I have to get over it, whatever. That's not, what are you doing? That's not how this works. That's not how this works. It was so frustrating. And, like, the thing that really, like, pushed me over the edge with it is the moment where, like, he earnestly, with his whole fucking chest, told her, you didn't have to do it. This is your own fault. Like, you did not have to sleep with me. You did not have to fall in love with me. You should have known better. Fuck that. Fuck him. Fuck this book. Oh my god. To legitimately say that this is her own fault, like, the audacity of her to fall in love. Oh my god, I fucking hated it. This is so bad. It was such a bad book. It was horrible. And I literally only kept reading because I was really hoping, frankly, that in some way we would, like, kill off Alos. This is genuinely what I was saying. But, other issues that I had with the book. Like I was saying, the book felt like the plot lines came out of nowhere and were just thrown on, and you were making stuff up to try and, like, ease the plot line. The end of the book is, like, Alice has the power of, like, water and ice, and the giants had never seen ice before, and so he made a deal with them that he would come back every 6 months to make ice for them, and they let him go, and they made up this other, like, orb thing that would allow you to, like, all but forcibly call back one of the persons that has the orb, which, again, we'll come back to that fucking thing, but, yeah, they did that, and it's, like, it's one of those things where it feels like the author may be, like, thinking, it feels like one of those things where I know people would be like, okay, but if it's just subverting your expectations. You're just shocked. You're just mad because you're shocked. You're just mad because I did something, like, you would never have expected. But, like, at the same time, I never would have expected Jack Sparrow to come in, kill Alos, and then like take Naya away on the Jolly Roger. That would have been unexpected. It would have also been a better story, but that doesn't make that good storytelling at all. Like it didn't feel like good storytelling, this book. It really didn't. Also, back to the orb things. I think the author was trying to... There was, like, a point when we first see it, and I think the author was trying to foreshadow it, but the way they went about it was to, like, Aloe stops, and he stares at these orbs wistfully, and, like, Naya just can't understand, like, what's going on in his heart when he looks at these. And that's not foreshadowing. Like, he wouldn't have this... Like, he doesn't have some sort of premonition skills. He is not a psychic or anything of that sort. He would look at that in that way if he had some sort of history, if he had, like, he already had something, like, tied to it, you know? Not because later on in the book he's going to use that, you know? It was just, it felt like the author was trying to foreshadow, but, like, not... The character was not doing foreshadowy things. The character was doing reflectory things. Like, the character, I honestly was thinking that maybe that was a part of the culture, and, like, how that was a part of the culture, and especially because they were teasing, like, the idea that, like, earlier in his parents, that they're people, once they find true love, they don't survive long after their partner dies, and his parents died, and, like, I thought that was something we'd come back to. No. So many things made me upset in this book. Another thing. Oh, hold on. Give me 2 seconds to, remember the whole point of this. Okay. Okay. Okay, so here's the situation. Here are two things that it's like it was the two things that felt really similar to me in the way the author did them, both of which were bad. So you have this moment where Kintra, I think, is Alice's right hand, and you have this moment where they're talking at the very beginning, and I said something about this on Twitter, where it's like, a lot of books and media sometimes are getting to the point where they don't know how to announce that a character is queer without literally having without literally having a fucking flag raised, especially if there's not a direct love interest for them at the moment. And the way that a lot of them have, like, lazily been doing it is queer character says, like, says something, and then another character says something, like, vulgar about it to, like, put a big red queer sign on them. Like, for, like, an example is, like, if a queer character is like, oh, I'll take the beef. Oh, well, we all know you're not going for the cock. Something like that. So, it can work. That can work. If that is, like, that type of humor is the type of humor that the character making the joke typically makes. You have, at the beginning of the book, Alice and Kintra in this situation where where Alice says something like that, and it's just so incredibly out of character for him. He, like, nothing prior to that moment was similar to, like, he doesn't say anything similar to that at all prior to that moment, and so I was like, oh, it's super early in the book, maybe I just don't know him well. Nope, not throughout the rest of the book. He doesn't say anything like that ever again. It's literally just to get queer points. It's just to get queer points, and so that way we can have this ridiculous, worthless, unnecessary miscommunication at the end where, like, Naya's assuming that Kintra's in love with Aloes, and Kintra's be like, no, I just like women. And then it's also, like, the situation to get queer points with Naya, because they're like, I mean, I've also bedded women, except, it really, every single time we're, like, in Naya's inner dialogue, and she's talking about, like, all of her, like, relationship and sexual experiences, because she's constantly being forced to like think about that when she's around Aloes. Like she seems very much heavily on men. That's it seems to be explicitly focusing on men, and I just that felt weird to me. I felt like the like whole thing was unnecessary, and I like the way they like kind of shoehorned in that bit with Naya was unpleasant for me. Keeping that in mind, at the very beginning of the book, they also, when the Mousai girls first like find Naya on the ship and like check in on her, and they like get a moment to like talk and be like, "Are you okay?" There's this moment that I felt was really awkward where Arabessa, the eldest sister, is like essentially asks if he raped her, and Naya says no. And that moment felt super awkward, not a place for me, because I felt like that had been addressed already. But like whatever we want to like, whatever, sure, maybe it's with the book, maybe it's just like we want to make sure like super clear on consent thing. No, I'm fairly certain like the reason that they did it was so that way you can have that you didn't have to do it, you didn't have to fall in love with me moment, and him feel justified as if it wasn't like an aggressive sexual assault, then he did nothing wrong. And that is a problem. That is such a problem. Oh my god, this book was I didn't like it. It was so bad to the point where I genuinely I had originally thought that my like top tier list was going to be between this series and Kingdom of Souls, but frankly, I don't want anything to do with this series, period. I thought the first book was nice. I honestly think Lakiria, whatever her name was, is my favorite of the sisters. And like the thing that like bothered me about that book was towards the end, like that kind of messy ending, like the messiness of like it feeling like things were just kind of tagged on. Kind of like I started to get a feel for that towards the end of that book, that first book. And the thing that really bothered me about it was the way they discuss drug abuse, and something we'll get into next stream. But it like I thought it was like edging towards like a good area, but kind of seeing what is being done with a lot of these topics in these books, I'm not going to read the next one. I'm absolutely not going to spend money on the next one. I'm not going to spend time on the next one at all. Like, I currently have Kindle Unlimited. It will not be anywhere near my library. I'm very much done with this series. This was a despicable read. To the point where I thought this was going to be the last book I read this year, but it was so bad, and I was so upset. I refused to allow this to be the last book I read this year. And then I read Iron Widow, which I still didn't like, but it was not nearly as bad as this. This one was absolutely horrible. I would not recommend this to a single living soul. Yeah. Like, if I could have given it 0 stars, I would have, but it currently has 1 star. And now, crewmates, squadron, it is time for me to bring us over to the point where we are going to write my reviews, type those up so I can post them on places. I know I was only going to do this for the one, and if we're being honest, I don't remember if we did a full review for Did we? I don't remember. I can look and see if we did a full typed out a review for Reaper of Souls. We did not. I'll do that on my own since I'm a mess. But let's put out a thing. First things first. Oh, other thing that I didn't mention, not like this one's like less of an outright fury and more of a thing that makes me just super uncomfortable with this book is it feels like all of the ethnic characters in this series have been reserved to either being in the criminal class or they are like so othered that they literally live on an island and like not even an island but like live in a land that like has such a rough patch of ocean in between them that like most people don't go to, and it especially makes me uncomfortable because like when regarding like most of these things around the ethnics, this author uses the term wild and it makes me so uncomfortable. Like the author has the Mousai perform and they're wearing animal masks and using drums and it's wild. And the author describes the land of the other like of the super other like dark skinned people as wild because instead of having pavement it's a trail that is kind of made out of by its use versus being paved. And I hate every single instance of this author using the term wild is very uncomfortable and I hate it. Oh, also, the like first half of the book really felt like the author was trying to like sell me on the idea that Naya would be like such a good pirate queen when it's literally like a thing that I was on board with last book. Like seeing the title, I figured out she was probably going to be like romancing with Alos and she was going to be on the boat and I was like, "Oh, that fits great with her personality." And then they spent like the entire like first half of the book really like shoving it down your throat, and then the rest of the book it was like, ugh, but like he's like a wild like fiery and impulsive pirate captain, and she was impulsive too, and it was just not it was not good. uh I don't even know how to spell her name. Is it Niyay? Do I know? I don't know how to spell her name. What's her name? Niya. Okay. Okay, so my review is this is the most disgustingly abusive relationship I have ever read. Him seducing her and using her identity to threaten the lives of her and her family is abuse. Most of his interactions with her after are either abusive or harassment. The moment at the end where he's trying to make her so mad she'll hit him and win her freedom is just him saying similar stuff to what he says when he's flirting, so why should I believe the flirting is cute? And no, the fact that there are people he doesn't abuse does not excuse his abuse to her, and it's disgusting that there's a point where it is framed as she didn't have to fall in love with this guy that was intentionally trying to get her to fall in love with him. She should have known better. The victim blaming is sickening. In terms of the writing, most of the story felt like a draft one, throw the kitchen sink at it type of thing. Things didn't feel blended together well, and there was a lot of making up new magic objects to get out of the corner we're stuck in. In the way the book dealt with Kintra's queerness, I think the way the book dealt with Kintra's queerness was just bad and existed exclusively to check off queer rep. Shoehorn in some ideas of queerness in Naya that wouldn't be acknowledged most of the book, and have that useless misunderstanding scene. I hated and was super uncomfortable with every single time the author used the word wild, especially given that all the POC rep really were either in the criminal class or they are in this wild land that few can ever reach. Yeah, that's all I have to give this book. That's the review we're giving this book. Normally, I would also like to, and by normally I mean another thing that I would like to start now is to get in the habit of also putting my books on Patreon in this time. Not my books, but like the reviews, to put those on Patreon at this time. So that way, and like put those notes and stuff like that there. But yeah, like I said, I don't think I actually finished organizing these notes. So we'll do that. We'll do the notes and stuff for the kind Iron Widow, which is going to be our next review, and then we will be done with this horrible year of reading. It's not been a horrible year. I had 2 like really fantastic books, but like some of the other books last month, December was a really bad month for reading. Write a review. Write a review. And oops. Yeah. Hated this book. Oh my god, the one update I posted on Goodreads was, God, I hope Naya kills Alice and takes over the queen. I'm just not excited to end the year with this abusive ass, toxic ass relationship. The abusive spouse syndrome vibes are way too high and they're using victim blaming to dismiss it. That's about right. Yeah, no, like this moment right here is like the biggest reason why I absolutely don't want to buy books before I read them, and I want to like check them out from the library. Is like, now this author has my money, and like I don't want to like full on blame the author, because as someone who's been in like abusive situations, it can be really hard to see those when you're in them. But like I still don't want to support this. I still don't want to have supported this book. You know what I hate? I hate that I can't write a review on my Goodreads and my Amazon are connected. Why can't I write a review on one and it pops over to the other? Is it just because Amazon wants a headline? Because that's not nice. That's a waste of my time. Yeah. Submitting that review. Cool. Yeah, and then I guess I'm just gonna have to wait to do the thing with the uh, with the notes because, yeah, I don't have that right now. We don't have that going right now. That's not up and running at the moment. Yeah, so I guess that is it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching me rant like all hell. Uh, thank you for being here. Might be. And the next stream that I'm going to do is Iron Widow. My plan had been to do it Friday. I think that's still going to be solid. I think that's still going to work, but we'll see. That's it for me right now, and until next time. Valedictions, friends.